I came across a post on Quora.com, and a user asked, how do I tell my adult married children who have good incomes that it's time for them to start paying for their meals when we go to a restaurant? Now, ladies, I'm very curious about this one. At what age should you start asking your children to chip in on dinner, bills, clothes? What do you think?
Well, to start with this question here, when they're not kids anymore. I don't know, this is really complicated because obviously now that I'm family planning and my sister has children, her children and my children are going to be raised so differently than how we were raised. Like, they have privileges that we never even could fathom, right? How do you instill in your child still the need to work hard, that everything isn't gonna be handed to them? Because the first time I got a job when I was a teenager, the first thing I was taught and that I watched my mother do was give to her mother.
Yes.
So when I got my first little check, you come home and you contribute.
Yeah.
And you help out. I've never asked my mother for money because she ain't have nothing to give me, but that's not the point. I think that this next generation, if they have parents that have money, how do I teach my child to not ask me for money, but instead to tell me, Mom, what can I get for you? Dad, I want to pay the bill. I'm not going to pay a dinner with my parents as a grown-up and letting my mom pay for my meal.
No.
Like, I would never do that.
No,
Why does this new generation feel that way?
I don't know. I think it's a form of entitlement, or they don't think about it. I feel like sometimes this generation can be very selfish. And I think that's what you have to do as a parent, to say, like, if my kids go, oh, I want this and I want that, and I go, why don't you ask me what I would like? Why don't you ask me, how can I help you, Mom, today?
Yeah.
What can I do? And I think you have to keep reinforcing that. But if it's an adult child, I would hope they'd want to say, you know what? I got this, Mom. And I think that would make you feel prideful that you can actually buy a meal for your parents.
I don't want my kid to think that because we have it.
Right. No, but I'm not saying it has to be something big. But like coming over and bringing flowers without it being Mother's Day, without it being her birthday.
Or do you think your kids would ever be like, hey, Mom, how can I contribute? It's just that it's so different, right?
I think this generation is different, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And I think it's important for us to tell our stories of how we grew up, especially if you grew up with humble beginnings. And I tell them all, I said I couldn't be a child. I had to work.
That's right.
Because my mom didn't have stuff.
Right.
So I had to work. So I tell them, I really believe until you're 18, it's a parent's job to take care of their kids. And you put responsibilities and stuff. But it's also important for you to share those stories so that they understand just how fortunate they are. I think a lot of people, young people today, don't realize how fortunate they are. And I'm not just talking about in families. I'm talking about the fact that we as people of color, we have certain rights that we didn't have even 50 years ago.
So true.
And so that's the reason why we have to keep talking about history and what happened in the past so they can see that their future is bright, but not to take it for granted. And not to take the people that are loving them, don't take it for granted. It's up to us to keep doing that.
You're so right. You're so right.